real estate biz is drastically changing, and modern real estate success can't be learned in some old course manual. This is everything they never told you about real estate, where industry leaders expose secrets to success, contemporary lead generation, and how to dominate social media. All moderated by your host, the real estate goat and queen of social media, Carrie Soave.
Welcome. I'm your host, Carrie, and I decided to bring on a special co-host, my oldest and best friend, Zuzana Misik. She's a realtor in Toronto. If you don't know her because she's an absolute rock star, just Google her. She's fantastic. So hi, Zuzana. Thanks for co-hosting this episode with me.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. I am so excited. Thank you for having me co-hosting with you, the beautiful Colleen McKay. I just found out about what she does, and I am so excited about this podcast, guys. I got goosebumps all over me. Look at this. Oh my God. So I am super curious about what Colleen McKay is doing. Just to give you an introduction about who she is, she's a master practitioner of NLP and a trainer. NLP is a Neurolinguistic Programming. She's also a certified coach, a financial strategist, a registered hypnotherapist. And Colleen is not a real estate agent, but she has been working with realtors as clients for 10 years. Welcome, Colleen. I'm so excited to meet you.
Thank you, ladies. I am very excited to be here with you as well. Very honored to be invited on too.
Yes, we've been looking forward to this, and me and Zuzana are all about personal growth and professional growth. So when I found you and I asked you to come on, I got on the phone with Sue and I'm like, you have to co-host this one with me because we're going to get so much out of it, right? We're going to get personally so much out of this podcast. So we hope that everybody is going to enjoy this. Write stuff down, take stuff away from this. It's good for your soul. So let's get into it. Colleen, what exactly is, because I didn't know what NLP is. So why don't you just explain exactly what it is and what it does and how it can benefit our business as realtors?
Perfect. So NLP is really the foundation of all communication, communicating externally with people, communicating internally with yourself. So everybody out there has representational systems inside of them. So you've probably heard about it, especially when you were younger. Oh, your visual, your auditory, your kinesthetic. So those are the three main ones. There's actually 6 of them in total because there's also olfactory and gustatory and then audio digital. But
wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we all communicate through those ways. And what NLP is it's the realization, the foundation of how we communicate in those ways and how we process that information internally. So an example that I can give, I'm a highly visual person. So when somebody communicates to me, if they're communicating by using their hand movements, if they're showing me things and literally pointing, I understand better and on a deeper level that information that they're giving to me versus if somebody is just literally speaking and not doing any additional type of support from the visual side. Somebody who is auditory, on the flip side, if somebody's using their hands and talking a lot, they're going to be highly distracted because they're trying to listen. So what NLP is it's that foundation and that realization that we all take in information differently. Now, when you are in any type of setting, think about the room that you're in right now, for example. You're being bombarded by tons of information that is coming into you. So literally just look at the room that you're in, and in that very quick second, think about what you noticed in that room. So quickly, Carrie, what did you notice in the room that you're in?
My money trees all over the place, my crystals.
Okay.
Such a geek.
Okay. All right.
And honestly, what I noticed the most is the traffic outside my window because I have my window open.
Oh, That's really interesting.
Mhm.
Automatically, I was going to say you sound like a visual person, but then because you notice the traffic, you're also audio. Now, I'm willing to bet because most people have a primary representational system and then secondary and third, so tertiary, but you're probably, because you said visual stuff first, visual and then supported by auditory. And how about you? What did you think when you were taking in the room around you? What did you see, Zuzana?
So I actually, the opposite of Carrie, it was the motorcycle that just went by.
Uh-huh.
I heard that, and then I went into the actual objects in the room.
Okay.
So
So you're reverse.
reverse.
And it's interesting that you guys are close friends because with you being reverse, you're kind of filling in the gaps for each other. So it makes sense to me.
Mm.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. So here's how it works. I've
Okay.
taken that information now. I know that if I'm communicating to you, Carrie, I'm going to want to use visual language. I'm going to want to visually show you what I'm talking about, even maybe demonstrate. So, real estate, let's say that I'm showing you a house, okay? I'm going to actually, on the picture of the house, I'm going to be pointing at things. Let's say I'm talking to you about the roof. I'm going to physically point at the roof. Reason is because as a visual person, that is going to resonate in your unconscious. And when it resonates in your unconscious, a few things take place. Number one, if I'm communicating directly to your unconscious, your barriers are coming down. You're going to trust me more. And you're not even going to know it's happening. I'm going to be building rapport with you. In addition to that, you're going to remember what I'm saying far easier because I'm speaking to you in your representational system. You, on the opposite hand, you were auditory first and then visual. So I now know, okay, it's the words that I'm saying that are going to be far more impactful and important to you. So I'm going to use flavorful language, things that will resonate on your unconscious so that you'll remember what I'm saying better, but also, again, will build that deeper rapport. And that's why NLP is such an effective tool in any type of sales, but also predominantly real estate, because when you know how to communicate to somebody and know how to get into their unconscious level of communication, building that rapport, you will be able to close far more sales from that alone. As you know, I'm a financial strategist, which is how I ended up working with real estate agents. They're my specialty. I started working in finance about 15 years ago, and then my target audience became real estate agents just through natural relationships. And from there, I started to realize the areas where the training that I had done in NLP translated very nicely into the real estate market. Reason being, when you think about it, finance and real estate are very similar in a lot of ways. Real estate, you're dealing with someone's probably largest purchase of their lives. I mean, very few, unless you're very wealthy, very few other things will compete against the value of a home in terms of sale. Flip side, finance, you're also dealing with very important aspects of someone's life, their money. They're extremely intimate relationships that you build.
They
Like
are.
when I would go in and talk with real estate agents or any clients in general, I would oftentimes start off part of my pitch as I'm going to become one of the most intimate relationships in your life. Not meaning in an intimate, like sexual way, but meaning I'm going to know more about you than sometimes spouses do, than sometimes family does, friends, all that stuff. Think about it the same way with real estate. When you're dealing with somebody with such an intimate purchase, such an intimate transaction, that's when having communication, having a strong relationship, having rapport is fundamental in success. And recognizing that and incorporating it into how people do business is really important in any type of sales, but especially in real estate. So that's kind of how NLP helps, is it's the backbone of communication. Now, what NLP also teaches is that all communication is effectively miscommunication. So the reason being is that when you're communicating, as you guys know, you guys are both different representational systems, but you're complementary because your secondary one is the opposite of each other. Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine if you are somebody who is fully kinesthetic and you're trying to communicate with somebody who is fully visual. That's going to create a lot of miscommunication. In addition to that, you never have control or knowledge as to how specifically somebody is going to take the information that you're giving, whatever words you're saying, whatever topic you're talking about, and actually internalize it. In NLP, we delete, distort, and generalize all information that comes in. So at any given second, when I asked you guys to think about the room that you were in, to take in that room and notice what you notice.
Yeah.
At any given second, you are absorbing approximately 7 to 10 million bits of information from all of the different senses. It's crazy.
Yeah.
When you take in that much information, if you were to fully process it all, you would probably explode. Like literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So naturally, we delete, distort, and generalize that information, and we go from 7 to 10 million down to consciously processing 5 to 7 bits of information.
Wow.
So, and you guys said, both of you said just 2. So again, going back to room, noticing the other maybe 3 to 5 that are coming through to you. But there's so much more information that's going on around. And that's why all communication is miscommunication.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Can you tell me a little bit about the instant rapport building, the breathing patterns? When I read that, I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do when I am meeting anybody is I want to establish rapport. Rapport with somebody can be established within 3 to 5 seconds of coming in contact, not even saying a singular word. Most people don't realize, but again, going back to intimacy, and when I say intimacy, again, I'm not meaning necessarily anything other than just a connection. But when we think about what's intimate, breathing is something that is our own, and that is very customary to each person. Like the pace in which I breathe is going to be different than you. But breathing is the first thing that I notice when I'm coming in contact with somebody. I automatically focus on getting into their breath, breathing at the same pace. Now, it's something that you can do very effortlessly. All you need to do, because we have peripheral vision, you can be focusing in and making eye contact with somebody, but your peripheral vision is taking in the pace in which their chest is moving. I automatically focus on trying to breathe at the same pace that they're breathing. Our unconscious is always active, is always listening and taking in information. That is actually a protective thing for us because we are constantly, back in the caveman days, we were constantly aware of our surroundings so that we didn't get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
Now we can use it to create relationships. So right away, even when we started this podcast, you can see I'm excited, but I was focusing in on both of you guys and your breathing and making sure that I'm breathing in that same pace. And it's something, so what gives it away is if you look at this area here, I know it's kind of crazy, but if you look at that area right there on your neck, that will go in and out just slightly. So I can look at your eyes and I can be paying attention to that and I can notice it moving just slightly. So I know to breathe. And when you want to get somebody to the same type of state that you're in without them knowing, matching and mirroring, I'll match somebody with their breathing state. And if I want to get people excited like I am or get them calmer, then once we're in that breathing state together, I'll start to lead them with my breathing. So I'll start to slow down. and they'll naturally follow, because once you're in rapport with somebody, they naturally want to follow you. So instant rapport builder, never mind the eye contact and all of that stuff. Get into somebody's breath. It is an instant.
Wow,
I love this.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
We always hear
in a sense of calm and a sense of comfort. Like, think about it. When I was saying about, getting into their breath, it's an intimate thing. It's an exact sense of comfort that somebody gets when suddenly they're like, oh, like you meet someone and you're like, oh, I feel like I just know you. Like, I feel like we've known each other for lifetimes. That's why. Is because
I'm breathing like you.
Exactly, right?
What would happen? Because we're trained in a way where we mirror our clients or our friends just to establish the connection. Or if someone's speaking really fast, we tend to speak at their level. So how would you, let's say I'm a slower speaker, if I'm not crazy excited, but how would I mirror someone that's speaking, super fast? But I'm not really comfortable with speaking super fast because I need to explain and guide my clients and speak slowly so they understand. Not all, but some. So how would you, in those cases, what do you suggest I would do?
That's a great question. So if I was in a situation where the person speaks quickly, I don't want to speak quickly because you lose information. I would focus on matching the volume of their voice, the tone of their voice, the words that they are using. Matching and mirroring doesn't have to be just topical, because again, remember, our unconscious is always active and it's always listening. So even when you're giving out very subtle cues, it starts to break down. We all have something called a critical faculty. It's a bullshit meter. Okay, so when I think of NLP, I think about it as a sphere. Okay, and I think like literally as my head as a sphere. Okay, and from about my forehead to my eyebrows ish is like the topical part. So we only use 10% of our brains. That is actually incorrect. We use our full brains. It's just not fully active. Like I was talking about the 7 to 10 million bits of information, we'd explode. Yeah. We're only actively, consciously processing a portion of that. But about my eyebrows is where my bullshit meter hits, right? And that's where information comes in. And if it doesn't feel right, if the rapport is not there, I'm like, no, that's bullshit. That makes me uncomfortable. I'm not listening anymore. Your clients are the same way. So when you're talking to somebody who speaks quickly, if you start speaking quickly, then that's going to actually heighten their bullshit meter because they're not aware that they're speaking quick. That's just normal for them. But if you start speaking at the same level of tone, if you start speaking in the same fashion that they are, then it will start to resonate and it breaks down that bullshit meter. We actually bypass that critical faculty and get into the unconscious where rapport is built. So that's how I would do it, is I would focus on the other sides of rapport.
Okay, I have a question. So what you were talking about earlier in terms of visual or audio, like I'm more visual, Zuzana is more audio. How do we figure out when we're first meeting somebody, because that's a really important factor, right? Using either really strong words and colorful words or using visuals. And I feel like using that in the first 5 minutes of meeting somebody would be really beneficial to our business. So how do we determine what type they are? Yeah.
Okay. So it does take a little bit of work on your side to get familiar with how to recognize. So realistically speaking, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of telltale signs for what representational system people fall under. You have to get comfortable in recognizing them by practicing to quickly be able to do it. But let's just say that you're talking to somebody visual like yourself. Somebody who's visual is going to, number one, use very visually descriptive language. So when you are first meeting somebody, active listening is very important, because if you listen well and you ask the right questions, that person's going to give you all the information you need to bypass their critical faculty. So, number one, listen for how they describe things, which might require you to ask a question. So, for example, let's say that you want to know what type of property your prospective buyer is looking for. You would ask them, I want you to close your eyes and I'd like you to describe to me your ideal, whether it's commercial or residential, your ideal property. Listen for how they describe it. If they're using visual words, it's likely that they are visual first. If they start speaking first about something that's an audio type word, so sound type word. So if they say, for example, I imagine a really serene property. Now, serene, it's an audio word because serene is quiet, is peaceful. So automatically, if somebody says to me serene property, I'm like, you're probably audio, which means that you probably also want somewhere that's maybe a more out there kind of property, maybe something on a line, maybe something up north, automatically I'm recognizing, you're an audio person. If somebody says, I really want something that feels like home, that tells me you're probably very kinesthetic. So the way that they describe what they want will be your first key. Now, the way that you learn the words that fall into each category is by doing the work and actually potentially taking a course, reading books and whatnot, because there are certain words that will fall into each category, but also our common sense kicks in. Now, I say common sense is really not that common, to be honest, but naturally, we know we have unconscious abilities too, where it will automatically, if you just give it even a little bit of thought and you are consciously conscious, you'll be like, oh, now that I'm thinking about listening and trying to hear how they're speaking, their words suddenly will sound more like a specific visual, auditory, or kinesthetic.
Yeah. Have you guys ever caught yourselves mirroring actions of your client? It happens to me all the time. I'll be having a conversation with a client and all of a sudden my one arm is crossed and I look at them and I'm like, oh my God. I feel like I do it automatically sometimes. Do you guys find that at all?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. When you and try being in a room where you are in rapport with multiple people. Have you ever been sitting anywhere and been like, oh my God, I'm really uncomfortable. Why am I sitting like this? And then you realize, oh, their legs are crossed. Their arms are crossed.
Wow. Yeah.
They're hunched over. It's so when I'm teaching courses in person, I'm like, I end up coming out and feeling like I've had a workout because I'm constantly contorting because I want to be in rapport. And naturally you want to be in rapport. And so absolutely. I have been there very much so.
Yes, absolutely. Because you get in the zone, you're starting to, you connect with people. But at the same time, Carrie, on your point is that sometimes if I'm not mirroring, which I do naturally or later on as the conversation progresses, sometimes I catch myself. Let's say the client is, with open arms sitting like this and I'm more like closed off. I'm like, interesting. I'm closed off. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Right. I catch myself as well, not mirroring sometimes. And I question it. Like, why is that? Am I uncomfortable or what's happening?
Have you ever been in a situation where you realized why?
No, I just realized, maybe I'm just not, I have to build a rapport to feel comfortable a little bit because it doesn't happen to me right away. When I meet some people right away, I'm open and I have the signs, the body language of being open, and sometimes I'm closed. And I wonder why. Why do you think that is, if I may?
So there's a couple of different ideas that do come to mind. Obviously, being in the situation, I would know better if I was there to observe it. But initially, our I call it spidey sense I'm by no means coined the phrase myself, but we, with our unconscious is always listening. So it picks up on things as well. So sometimes it could be that that person that you're meeting with has some type of resemblance to somebody, because I'm sure that most of these people are new people to you, new relationships. So you don't know all that much about them, but somewhere they have a resemblance to somebody within your sphere or your past sphere that has maybe a negative connotation to them, or maybe you recognize that previously that type of character quality was harder to relate with. Maybe as a female, you had hurdles with people that kind of seem to fit into that category. I'll say something that is, I don't know, maybe controversial, but I think it's reality. We're not unique. I mean, yes, you're all special. We're special. I'm special. Yay, we're special, right? But no, actually, we're not really that unique. Okay. We all fall into categories of people. And the more that you learn about NLP characteristics, the way that people process information, the more that you understand that everything falls into some type of category. This person acts this way because likely this happened, or some type of situation happened to them like this. It's all very 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 6. It doesn't all make sense, but it all has some type of category theory behind it. So when you meet somebody, that person, whether you're fully correct or not, is going to fall into a category for you. Like there's it's a statistical thing, right? So there's there's these statistics. I'm not going to say what kind of car it is, but many years back, I was driving, I was on the phone, I was talking with a gentleman, and this guy who looked like an asshole was driving a car that looked like it would be an asshole that drove it. And he literally cut me off. And then I watched him weave through traffic, giving people the finger, and he was genuinely an asshole. And now every time I see that vehicle or that type of looking man, I'm like, ugh, you're category asshole. Sometimes I'm wrong. Most times I'm right. We all fall into category, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also the really cool part about when you learn about communication and when you learn about how to learn and understand what category people fall into, communication becomes really easy from there.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
What
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about anchoring positive emotions.
Yes. Okay. So I love this. This is something you can literally take right away, implement it, and it actually is effective. You've probably noticed I'm handsy. I talk a lot. Okay. And it's not, I'm married to an Italian, but I'm Irish. It's not a trait like that. But when you watch my videos, you notice I'm, using my hands a lot. This is anchoring. I am constantly anchoring. Reason being is that you can take a cue, a gesture, words even, and you can anchor them to positive or negative emotions. When you anchor something on the unconscious level, it creates a sense of knowingness, and it almost guides that person who's on the other side of seeing the anchor. Again, it's unconscious. It guides them to a certain belief. So if you watch the news, if you watch any politicians, many politicians have some type of NLP training. Okay. And even, it's funny, even if you just notice me, I didn't even realize I was doing it with my hands, but notice what I'm doing with my hands. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about all the politicians that you see use their hands like this. Creepy, eh? But a lot of the time it's communication training. But with anchoring, you can anchor positive things towards you, negative things away. So if you watch my videos, you'll actually notice when I'm talking about success, when I'm talking about betterment, when I'm talking about growth, learning, I'm often going like this with my hands. When I'm talking about money, sometimes you'll see me tap my wrist because time is money, money is time. Or money like this, because this is a universal symbol of money. These are anchors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an anchor is unconscious. You're not necessarily noticing it because, again, going back to the politicians, you think they're just using their hands. No. They're telling your unconscious, think positive, negative. Okay? Money,
Oh, wow.
money. Yeah. So I use a lot of anchoring when I want somebody to think positively, negatively. Even when I'm meeting with people in person, if I'm talking about something negative, I will actually be conscious of where my nearest window or door exit is, and I will motion towards that.
Wow,
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Carrie, I have to plug in, Carrie, I have to plug in my computer. It's running out of juice. One second.
Yeah, hold on. I'm
It's
gonna
something
close
that
my window too because somebody's mowing their lawn apparently.
oh,
1 second.
auditory there, right?
Right?
I'm so sorry, guys.
That's okay. I think I'm auditory because that was so distracting for me. I had to get up and close that.
Yeah. And something that's interesting is when people can, depending on the activity that they're doing, can move between representational systems. So you might be in a situation where you'll be auditory first and then visual, you know? So you can go, you're always going to lean more so towards one, but there'll be situations where it will be like, I have two small children and I'm a highly visual person, but when I'm doing any type of focus work, and this is the truth for many people, but when I'm doing any type of focus work, if I'm doing something that's visually, they can talk, they can play, they can do anything, no problem. I'm undistracted. But if I'm doing something where I need to think of words that I want to use, I have to switch to audio. And suddenly there can be no sound. Because if there is any type of sound around me, I'm fully distracted and I can't think. I can't piece two sentences together, kind of thing. So
Wow, this is so interesting.
Let's okay, so first of all, I'm going to ask you a question. You work with a lot of realtors, you coach realtors, you teach them all of these things. And you've been doing that for 10 years, as we said. What do you find is the biggest obstacle with the realtors that you are coaching that's preventing them from really getting their business to a point that they would like it to be? Is it maybe limiting beliefs? Would you think that that is the, what do you think?
I would say absolutely. Yeah, I would say absolutely. So the reality is as real estate agents, you're entrepreneurs. There's nobody who, in most cases, unless you're part of a team, realistically, nobody is tapping on your shoulder saying, hey, how are you doing? Did you get this stuff done? Is your head in the right place? Nobody's doing that. And the other thing about when you go into real estate, you get your license, you go through the course and everything. They teach you all the stuff about how to do a transaction. They even teach you a little bit surface level about how to be a real estate agent. But the second that you're into the actual jungle of it all, you're up shit creek without a paddle because nobody's holding your hand. So that's when your head starts flooding and being like, oh my God, can I do this? This is more work than I thought. Like when you're a real estate agent, you have to become a master communicator, a master networker. You have to learn to manage your time effectively. You have to learn what it means to manage your time effectively and to actually be realistic with yourself about your limitations. You have to be good with managing emails. You have to become a copywriter. You have to become a marketer. Like you have to become an entire package. Right. And your limiting beliefs set in that because very few people are the entire package. And so you start to think, ooh, I'm not good at this. And then when you're not doing a ton of sales right off the bat, because I mean, nobody gets into real estate agent or into real estate to sell 1 or 2 houses a year. No, people get in because they're like, I'm going to make a lot of money and I'm going to sell like 20 to 50 houses a year. And then you get in. And then when you try to go to your warm referral sources like friends and family, and they're like, oh no, it's okay. I've already got, Bob, who I've been using my entire life. Or actually, I'm not thinking about selling because I'm in my forever home. Or, you know what, I just sold last year, so sorry. Then it really sets in and those limiting beliefs kick you in the butt. So absolutely. Mindset management is huge when you are in the real estate space and it's so competitive. So yeah. Absolutely.
And do you teach any tools to the people that you coach, the realtors that you coach? Like, give me an example. What do you think the best tool is to manage mindset? If you could give the realtors out there your best piece, your best tool to deal with that, what would it be?
Absolutely. Reframing. I do it a lot. Almost every single coaching session that I have with agents, they come to me with the problem and I reframe it for them so that it's a solution. When you are an entrepreneur, you have to be solution focused. So you've got to take that limiting belief, you've got to take that hurdle that you're facing, and you have to reframe it. So let's say, for example, someone is struggling to get leads from their family and friends. Let's say for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody who their family and friends already have trusted real estate agents that they work with, and they haven't yet established that authority in the real estate space yet. So limiting belief, I'm never going to get any leads from my friends and family. Reframe it. I'm not going to get the leads from my friends and family right now, but I am going to show them a year from now how many transactions I've done and why they should be working with me and why they should be sending me all of their referrals going forward. It's just a little flip in the narrative. Sure, you're not going to get them right now unless you've got really trusting friends and family or ones who are willing to take a risk, which, let's be honest, many are not.
Yeah.
Because of the type of transaction it is, you have to look at it differently. When I started off in the finance space, I did not go after any of my friends and family for business because I was like, ooh, like money, that's an intimate thing for like friends and family. People don't want you to know what their financial situations are, generally speaking. So I reframed it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to network myself to the max. I'm going to find clients that are high-end clients so that when I show my friends and family, look, I'm working with this person who's worth $5 million. They'll be like, well, why am I not working with you at this point?
Yeah.
You've got the trust of someone who's got $1 million.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah. And these are
So
things
how do
that we don't talk about, right? We don't talk about the fact that the first 5 years in our business, it's almost like our family is terrified to use us. Our friends, they don't trust us yet. They see us as the person, not as the professional. So when I see new realtors coming in and they're like, oh, I've got a big family and a really good big group of friends, I'm just like, oh, fuck. Oh, boy.
And I'm like, oh, and the thing is, like, you have to remember your friends and family. I mean, listen, we're all real people behind the scenes. Like, we're all normal, real people. Your friends and family have seen you probably at your worst, doing stupid stuff or saying stupid stuff. Right? They know you.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're going out to market, when you don't know these people, you get to be whoever you want to be. You could be somebody who is relatively new in the real estate space. You could be a luxury person. Like, you could be a luxury real estate agent. Who's to say you're not? You know a lot about luxury market. You like luxury things. Why can't you specialize in the luxury market?
Yeah.
But your friends and family who know, oh, that's your first designer bag, or oh, that's not even a real designer bag. They know you're not luxury. But the other people out there don't. So you have to earn trust, right? especially with friends and family.
And that's why I think maybe going after friends and family when you're fresh in the industry before you have all of this experience is probably the worst idea, because you need a level of trust between your, client realtor relationship that is going to be difficult when you're new in the industry with people who know you on a personal level. And if you don't have that trust, me and Susan have talked about this before. If you don't have that trust, everybody's fucked. Like, nobody wins. Everything's more difficult, and you're just better off going the other route until you prove yourself and you've shown them through example, right? I think that's my personal opinion.
I couldn't agree with you more. I know so many relationships that ceased to exist or were heavily damaged because somebody was like, well, why wouldn't you use me? I'm your cousin. I'm your friend. I'm your best friend. What do you mean you're not going to use me as your agent? And then they're like, ugh, like, it's uncomfortable. And the reason could be anything. Like, again, people like your family and friends don't necessarily want you to know their nitty gritty. They don't want you to know how much they can maybe not afford, or what actual real financial situation they're in. Or maybe they've got a lot of money and they don't want you to know that either. It's one of those things. Like, very few as a financial strategist, very few of my friends work with me for that very reason, because they don't want me to know how much little or how much money they have. I do have a couple of friends who are in there who I work with, and it's always that kind of note where I know them better than a lot of other people, because I'm like, oh no, can you actually afford that, or can you not afford that? Those types of relationships. Real estate is no different.
Yeah, totally. So how would you know what your limiting beliefs are? Is it something like an exercise you would do, write it out, or do you just kind of have to be obviously aware of what you're thinking? Is there something that you would suggest for people to recognize what the limiting belief is?
There are a couple of different ways that I dive in to find somebody's limiting belief, but almost always a limiting belief is like a pimple on your forehead or on your nose. It's like right there. And maybe you haven't named it yet. There, like it's noticeable. So okay, so let me give you an example personally for me, because whenever I coach, I'm all about like, let me give you real examples and let me give you authentic examples. I coach real estate agents. I am not a real estate agent. When I was working, first developing Transcending Minds, I got all these agents who were coming to me and asking me for advice and, sharing my ideas and thoughts with them. When the first person said to me, why aren't you coaching real estate? Like, why aren't you coaching in general? Of course, I had limiting beliefs, but then why aren't you coaching, real estate agents? You're already coaching them, but why aren't you coaching them? And I was like, well, nobody's going to want to work with me because I'm not a real estate agent. Like, nobody will trust me because I'm not a real estate agent. I should be going, nobody will trust me because I'm not a real estate agent. But in actuality, there's lots of benefits to me not being a real estate agent that help my clients. I'm more like your client. I'm more aligned with your target audience client and being able to tell you what that client wants, So the limiting belief, nobody wants to buy from me because I'm not a real estate agent, so I don't have that direct real estate agent experience. The reframe, I may not be a real estate agent, but that's actually what maybe makes me a good fit for you is I'm aligned with your client. You're going to pitch to me. You're going to work with me, and I'm going to tell you if it's going to work or not because I'm actually your client. Yeah. So, different perspective.
Right. Yeah.
We all know. I mean, I guarantee if you think about it for a second, both of you, even just for a second, think, what's your limiting belief? Something will pop in your mind. And that's what it is. Your limiting belief is like the little monkey on your back. It's that thought that you have maybe once a day or once a week where it's just like, and it gives you the ick. Right?
You got to be aware of it. Yeah. And then just kind of dissect it and look at it like, why is this? Where is it coming from? And reframing it.
Exactly.
That's great.
Your evidence procedure is very important. Okay. Your evidence procedure is, how do you know that that limiting belief is actually accurate and true? And this is where universal truths come into play. I could say to you, oh, the sky is blue. And you could say to me, well, actually, Colleen, the sky's kind of gray right now. What's the universal truth? It's a hue. That's not, like, I can't give you a universal truth there. But what I can tell you is every single day, the sun rises. That's a universal truth. Yeah, nobody can argue. I mean, nobody can realistically argue that. Yes, a sun goes up, a sun goes down. Maybe we don't see it fully, but it becomes, in most parts of the earth, unless you're in the 6-month cycle, most times, every single day that happens. Universal truth.
Mm-hmm.
So your limiting belief, your actual evidence procedure, what tells you that your limiting belief is in fact true? When I said to you, my limiting belief was that nobody would want to use me as a coach because I wasn't real estate licensed. Well, in reality, I had a number of people who were already asking me to coach them. And then I had people who were giving me money to coach them.
Yeah.
So my evidence procedure for that limiting belief was broken. And I thought, okay, my limiting belief is actually bullshit. Now I got to reframe it.
Okay, but
So you have to ask yourself,
what if your evidence points to supporting your limiting belief? So I'm going to tell you, I'm speaking at my first conference on Saturday, and it's my first one because I've been denying them. I've been refusing to do them for a while. And it's because I'm terrified of public speaking. And I'm terrified of public speaking because of how I was in high school. I would stutter. Like, I would have my whole sense of being was disrupted when I had to get in front of people and talk, to the point where I didn't even know what I was doing, what I was saying. So how would you deal with something like that?
Okay, so that this actually excites me. So a couple of things. First, number one, would you agree with me that who you were when you were in high school is probably wildly different than who you are now?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And would you agree with me that who you were when you were in high school was probably a self-conscious version of you, a less knowledgeable version of you, someone who hadn't yet received and had the success that you have now?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm going to assume again, but I'd like to just hear you say it. Wouldn't you agree with me that you are successful now and you know what you're talking about? Like, you've been doing this a long time. Yeah. You are now an authority figure.
Yeah, I am.
Would you agree with me? Okay. And would you also agree with me that the people who asked you to speak at this conference must recognize the level of authority figure that you are to have asked you to speak at this conference? Like, they're not desperate in any way. They asked you specifically, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So knowing all of that, and knowing that you're such a different person than you were in high school, and yeah, maybe you stuttered back then, but didn't we all? Like, man, I could just imagine myself at high school speaking in front of peers who everyone is like self-conscious about themselves, and so different back then. But now you're a confident woman who has achieved success, who is an authority figure. Of course they're asking for you, and not just them, many others, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So how would I deal with that? I'd recognize who the fuck you are. Excuse my language, but I would recognize you are being asked to speak because you know your stuff.
Yeah.
Now listen, getting in front of people, multiple people, and talking, whether it's one person, 5 people, 100 people, 300 people, you're still going to say the same stuff because you know what you're talking about. And realistically, the more fun that you have up there, the more fun it's going to be for you. And the more fun that it is for you, the more relaxed you'll be for you. And the more relaxed that you'll be, the more confident you'll be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like that.
So do you want me,
I love it. Yeah, that's true.
so do you want
Yeah.
me to break down what I just did there?
Yeah.
Yes,
Full
please.
NLP. I got you to agree with me. Okay. So naturally, for someone to actually believe something, you have to get them to agree with you 5 to 7 times. I did
Oh,
5
wow.
with you there.
Hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, while I was doing it there, I also was I was empathetically putting myself in your situation and imagining what it was like when you were in high school trying to speak, and then aligning myself with how much you have grown. That's a metaphorically speaking thing. So I've taken you through the growth cycle. So in sales, because I sold you there on yourself, by the way.
Yeah.
In sales, everyone starts at skepticism. You don't know what you don't know, so you're skeptical about it. Then they move to intrigue, where they're like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting what you're saying. I might agree with you on that. And then they move into decision, where it's, yes, I am aligned with you. I agree. I'm buying, or whatever it is, the sale.
Yeah.
Because the sale is really anything. Like every decision you make is a sales process.
Yeah.
So I aligned with you when you were in high school. I moved you forward, reminding you who you've become, how you're the authority figure. I embedded into you with embedded language and embedded commands that you are an authority figure. And then I moved you to confidence of course you're going to be there. Of course you're going to speak because everybody wants you there. You know what you're talking about, reminding you to be confident.
Yeah.
All of that done with NLP. And then after that, actually anchoring the emotion to you with funny commentary, with reminding you how fun it is.
Ooh.
I then used the language pattern, the more, the more, the more, the more. That's an anchoring language pattern. So I was getting you excited. The more that you speak, the more confident you'll become. The more confident you become, the more exciting it is, the more exciting it is. When you use the more, the more, the more language pattern, it brings that person to the full cycle. So now, when you get up and speak on Saturday, what I want you to do is I want you to focus on having fun. You know everything already. I'm willing to bet you could probably give this speech with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Because you're so knowledgeable, right?
Yeah.
So now, do me a favor, do a skeleton presentation of whatever you want to talk about. Like just have your jot notes down there in case you get off track to bring yourself back on. But don't bring cue cards. Don't try and, read it verbatim. Be you. And you'll be so much more engaging and entertaining.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
And throwing your dad jokes, Carrie. Throwing your dad jokes, and that's so.
Exactly.
my
That was amazing. I love that. Your mom joke. So that's amazing. Okay, so the empathy plays a big part in sales. I find, I always say to who I'm talking to, like real estate agents or even newbies coming in, is that empathy is really instilled in us. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity and the chance to have grandparents, close relationships with grandparents when I was growing up, because I learned a lot about empathy from them. And I find it's really, really important and beneficial in sales and real estate, is because I put myself in my clients' shoes and I understand them more. And, to bringing us closer together, because it's like a care. They know that I care about them and I will steer them or guide them in a direction that's the best for them.
Yeah.
So I love what you have to say.
I
think that the empathetic standpoint is important.
I do. Okay, so one thing about Colleen is you've done a ton of different training and coaching yourself, right? So like, who have you gone through coaching with? I want to know all the names, and I want to know who the best is. Obviously, besides you and besides me.
Yeah. Okay, so I have done like pretty much, especially starting off. To give you the background on me, I was a stockbroker at 21. Okay,
Wow.
so like very early on, I'm a nerd. I like, and I love money, obviously. But I was a stockbroker at a young age, And so right off the bat, I was in like the average crowd I was in was males who were 50 plus, and like the old school males, like the ones who like you walk by and you know you feel a brush against your butt and then you look back and you're like,
Ew.
yeah,
Ew.
those kind. Yeah, because I specialized in the mining sector, so that was a whole other thing. It was a really great learning opportunity. I gotta say, I learned so much. It was great, but I learned very quickly. I was like, holy shit, I gotta like, if I want to win over anybody to manage a portfolio, I have to get good at sales. Because like, who's gonna give a 21-year-old millions of dollars? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
nobody, right? So I had to get good at sales. So I started dabbling in with Tony Robbins. A lot of people know who Tony Robbins is. He's actually very integrated into the NLP world with Neurolinguistic Associations. So I started learning about that. That was really cool. That was my first little toe dip into NLP. I took Grant Cordone's courses as well. A lot of people know about him. He's a little bit of a different style of coaching. He's a little bit more like 10x this, get it done kind of thing. You know, he's a little bit more whereas Tony's like a guider and yes, exactly. I also did strategic coach. So strategic coach is out of Toronto, and they also, you know, like they have people that come in internationally, but strategic coach was a really great program that I did. But the course that really made the fundamental difference for me was Dr. William Horton. He's out of the US. He's the NFNLP. And he was a real gateway into NLP for me, as well as hypnotherapy. A lot of people think it's so weird that I'm also a registered hypnotherapist. NLP and hypnotherapy oftentimes go hand in hand because of the nature of the backbone of NLP. There's a lot of therapeutic sides to NLP, so hypnotherapy works in that way. I use it for a lot of different ways. I use it for, you know, trance language and getting people into the comfortable state. I'm never hypnotizing people. I'm not going to make anyone balk like a chicken. That has been fundamentally the best courses that I have ever taken have been the NLP based ones because they changed everything for me. I took it originally to become a better salesperson myself.
Yeah.
But the thing about when you are an entrepreneur, a salesperson of any kind, you have to be aligned externally and internally. You know, if your mind is jumbled inside and you're struggling on a daily basis with anything, but let alone like we know, like mental health, especially over the last couple of years, has been a headline. If your mental health is not in a great place, it is very hard to be successful professionally.
Yeah.
So NLP was like that thing where it was like, okay, get your internal mindset straight, figure out how you tick, how to use it to your advantage, and then, oh, here's a bunch of really great systems that you can also implement, and here's how you communicate. And that is like the perfect marriage. If anybody out there is having struggles in their professional business, NLP I think is a really great stepping stone at the very least to start on any coaching.
Yeah. And if anyone is interested at all in any more about what Colleen has to offer, get a hold of me. I'm also going to tag her and everything so you can contact her directly as well. Zuzana, do you have any questions?
Well, I don't know how much time we have, but hypnotherapist, what does that entail? I know nothing about it. I've never read about it. I don't know anything about it. Just maybe a little overview as to what it is and how it helps real estate agents or how it helps people in general.
Not a problem. I love hypnotherapy. My so when I'm actually doing it, my voice drops and I'm a much more soothing voice because I speak at a high pitch. But I love doing it because have you ever done guided meditation?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Very similar to it. You're almost always conscious. You're just in like almost like a dreamlike state. But because I'm a hypnotherapist, I have a whole system that I take you through to get into your unconscious. And then once I go down all the levels and I'm in your unconscious, that's when we can make real change. So let's say that you have a limiting belief that has been embedded to you from some type of traumatic experience or upbringing maybe that you had as a youth. You were constantly told, like, let's say maybe you were constantly told that you were not good enough. Well, what I would do is I would use the hypnotherapy to go into your unconscious and reorganize the thought patterns that you have that say that you're not good enough to, I've grown so much, I've learned these tools, I am absolutely good enough. And it's almost like I take you through metaphors as well. I create pictures for your mind or stories for your mind, depending on if you're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, that your unconscious will associate and attach to help you make that change work. So a really like topical example I can give you is my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law used to drink Coke like crazy. Like, I'm talking, she would drink like 4 cans of Coke a day, and like not the Diet Coke, like I'm talking the full sugar Coke, like you're going to become diabetic Coke.
Yeah.
And she wanted to stop. Okay. So I ended up doing a couple of hypno sessions on her. After the first hypno session, I did an associative technique on her. So I put her under, she was comfortable. She's conscious, but she's in like that dreamlike state. So she knows what's going on around her, but she's relaxed and we're working on the deep levels. I associated cigars to, and the idea of, have you ever been in a home where it's been a heavy smoker and you know how there's like tar dripping off the walls?
Yes.
For whatever reason, that resonated with her and made her feel sick.
Yeah.
I use that as an example and associated the color of Coke to the tar dripping off of walls. Yeah. I made it so that she was almost sick to her stomach. And I think it's been almost 9 years later, she has not drank Coke again.
Ooh. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I love that.
It's all about, and that's the beauty of the unconscious mind, is that we all have it within us to make changes. Like, the fun part about neurolinguistic, it's cool. The fun part about neurolinguistic programming is that everything that we do is a program. Absolutely everything we do. So the way you wake up and start your day, the way you make your coffee, the way you start your car, the way you leave your house, all a program embedded into us. And we have these programs because when you have a program, you know what the outcome's going to be.
Right.
When you have a program that doesn't work, you can use NLP techniques to modify the program so that it does now work. And that's what I do. Yeah, I just modify the programs that you're running to be more beneficial programs, ones that actually help. So
I love
decode. You decode the old us. You put a new coding in.
That's
wow, that's amazing.
In the world of AI, I love that. I'm going to use that for my marketing.
Oh, thank you so much. That's amazing. I love that. It's nice to dissect yourself and kind of look at what you're doing. You have to be aware. I think the first step, from what I know from meditation and studying self-development, it was for me to actually be aware of what I'm doing, my habits, my bad habits, my good habits, and then to see, okay, I want to tweak this, I want to change this. But this is on a very deep level, which I totally love, because I think the deeper you go, the more benefit you're going to get. And I think it's easier. Let's say someone that smokes, they go and get the patch or whatever, like it takes a long time, and sometimes it never works because, like you said, they don't associate. So this is a totally different way to look at things and feel things and perspective. I think it seems like it would be very quick. You can change things very quickly.
Yeah.
No?
I know, absolutely. When you recognize that something is a pattern and you have the ability to change it, it's almost like a light switch. Now, habits take a while to form, and everything, just like everything's a pattern, everything is a habit. So you have to build the habit of consciousness of changing that pattern. So that can take some time, but literally, like, you can decide to change your pattern that day and begin it that day and see results almost instantaneously.
That's wild. I love that.
It's pretty crazy, because then you realize, like, holy shit, I'm in control. So now it's about how far are you going to take this?
Yeah,
How
I
much are you
know.
going to grow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is the thing is that self-development started for me and Carrie as well, like
Mhm.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So just dabbling with it, reading the the books and the podcasts and going to seminars and events. But it's for me, it felt like it's taking so long. I don't really see any changes. I'm not inputting it properly. I know all these things. I know it in my head, but I'm not implementing it or executing it properly. So that was my struggle. Now it's a little bit different because I look at things differently, maybe because I'm wiser and older and more experienced. But yeah, it was a struggle for me for a long time because I knew there were things I needed to work on. I just didn't know how to change them.
Yeah.
Like, what steps do I take? What do I do? I'm trying, but it's not working. And, it was kind of frustrating to tell
Yeah.
you the truth.
I can
So I
imagine.
like this, that you really just pinpoint and you dive deep into it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're the expert, you know what you're doing, but it was very difficult. So for that reason, to give feedback to the audience is that doing it on your own, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
That's why I've been in it for so long. I know so much, but I just didn't know how to execute. And from the books you read and you learn, but having a coach, I think is so, even just real estate coaching like you do, Carrie, it's life changing. It really is.
Yeah.
One of
Why,
the biggest benefits about,
if
sorry, go
you
ahead.
have access to tools that are proven to work, why are you trying to figure it out yourself? Why are you trying? It would take so much longer. And
Yeah.
I don't get it sometimes. But that's okay. You
Why
need to
try
be
and
ready for
recreate
it.
the wheel?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're ready, you're right. I wasn't maybe ready for it. And again, that belief, I can do it on my own. I don't need anyone's help, being stubborn. And so that had a lot to do with it too.
But
Yeah.
also remember, so there is a certain, people have like a belief that there's a certain vulnerability with needing a coach. Like, listen, everybody needs a coach. I
Everybody.
don't care how successful you are, you need a coach. The reality is that the primary job that I have as a coach, like, listen, I can teach you all of these tools. I can like, from every course that I've ever taken, I know which ones actually work and I use them. But I can teach you all of the tools. But the biggest reason why people need coaches is motivation is bullshit. It isn't real. When you're motivated, when you're lying in bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're like, oh, tomorrow's going to be a great day. I'm going to get all this done. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so successful, blah, blah, blah. And then 10 o'clock rolls around and that motivation is gone because you've hit the morning, you've had to answer emails, you've had phone calls, you've had all this stuff penetrate into your day. And suddenly that motivation that you felt in the middle of the night is gone because you're tired as well. So here's where the coach comes in. Accountability.
Yes.
Most people can't be accountable to themselves. I mean, honestly, it's as good as I am a coach. I am a trained person. I know how my mind works. I teach people how their mind works. I'm pretty accountable. I'd say I'm about a 95% accountable, but that 5% of not being accountable really screws me sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's why I have an accountability coach. I have somebody that I have to answer to.
Yeah.
Where it's, oh, did you do this, Colleen? And if I didn't do it, then I've got a punishment because I didn't do it. Because you know what? There are times where I'm like, oh, you know what? It's, I've worked a really good day. I worked, 8 hours today. I put in a really good effort. It's nighttime. Kids are in bed. I would really just love to sit on the couch and watch Succession or Ted Lasso or any of the great shows that are on right now. I want to sit out and chill. But you know what? I've also got a couple of things that I want to get out, like the courses that I'm writing right now. I want to get those courses out. So me having those two choices, some days I'm going to be like, no, I'm motivated and I want to do this. But most times I'm like, oh, I just want to watch TV. I've worked really hard today. I deserve this.
Yeah.
If I didn't have my accountability coach in place where I know tomorrow I got to answer to them, I'm probably going to sit on that couch a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
everybody needs a coach.
I love that.
Coaches need coaches. Their coaches need coaches. I don't care who you are. everybody would benefit from a coach. Okay, so I have one final question for you. Yes. Give me the top 3 books that were game changer for your life or your business. Get your top 3 books, because I know it's hard to narrow it down to just one. So give me however many you like, because I love reading.
Okay. Yes, I do too. I'm a big podcaster, so I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Give me a podcast.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so it's the podcast is one that is not necessarily specifically about coaching, but it's a very good podcast that I learn a lot from, and I'm constantly using when I'm talking, because it makes me relatable. It establishes me as an authority and a knowledgeable person. Mm-hmm. So it's Things You Should Know. It's called Things You Should Know, and it's these 2 guys. They are actually in Toronto. I went to the thing this weekend with my husband, and it was all about Eco 1 and Eco 2, these biospheres. There's actually a movie that's based off it. I digress here, but that is a very good one, because Things You Should Know is a really good podcast that teaches you a little bit about a lot of different things. The reason why it's good is because it primes your mind to be open to learning. When I coach, I pull in examples from all different things. And like I was saying before, when I was nervous about not being a real estate agent, but how me not being a real estate agent is actually my USP, my unique selling point, I pull information from all different sources, and I equip people with knowledge that they might not have had otherwise. I can talk about a lot of different things. I can work a room because I have a lot of useless knowledge, but it's entertaining knowledge. So listening to podcasts like that so that you have something to talk about. Very good. The other one that I really love, obviously, like Napoleon Hill's books, they're a standard. So they're really great books if you haven't read them. Also the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That one is a really good book that I really enjoyed as well. Because again, it's the way to resonate and to best connect with your own unconscious is through metaphor, storytelling, and that kind of thing. So when you're reading about somebody else's experience, somebody else's advice, it actually penetrates into your unconscious and resonates under there. So that in a situation where maybe you're questioning yourself, maybe you're in a situation where somebody is challenging you and you feel like you need to react, but realistically, maybe you should just not be giving a crap. That's a very beneficial standpoint to come from. So those would be the ones. I can also, I've got a ton of different NLP books that I can pull up as well that I have really enjoyed reading, and I can give you the list on that.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we'll share a post about that then. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for coming on. Like it was really nice to change it up a bit, and just a different point of view from somebody who isn't a realtor, but is familiar with our business, a different type of coaching. So everybody's so concerned about where do I get leads from? Lead generation coaching. That is the big hype right now. However, if you can't communicate properly, you can't convert and you can't close. So I can teach you how to bring in thousands of leads. I will show you the way, step by step, a complete blueprint. But unless you can convert, communicate, and close, you're dead in the water. So that's where somebody like Colleen comes in, and I just love the perspective, and there's so much that you bring to the table, and we're going to have some big things coming up. We're going to do some stuff together, aren't we, Colleen?
Yeah. All right. Yes, I love you as well. I think the foundation, I found it's like building a foundation for you coming into the world, how you act when you're in different situations, also how you react to certain things. I think it's important for us salespeople in real estate and it's a people business, you know, human behavior and psychology. It's really what it boils down to. So if you're feeling good and you're
Thanks for listening to everything they never told you about real estate. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To connect with Carrie or for more information about her coaching program, check out carriesoave.ca or at Carrie Soave and Associates on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
It was absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Really. It was great.
Anytime, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.